All right, and we're live. This is a Patreon-only live Q&A with Jay Campbell. We've got a few Patrons on with us. I know it's midday, so it's not the ideal time for people to log in from around the world and do this, but I hope you enjoy the recording, and we're going to get all the questions you guys left on the private pages for me to post to Jay, and some more of the deeper shit, like the how-to stuff that we can't put onto YouTube just because we don't want to offend some feminists or the soft left.
Bunch of fucking faggots. Is that what you meant to say?
That's what we can say here. A bunch of fucking faggots. All right, gentlemen, let's dive into it. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to go over was my blood work, because that's a question that comes up a lot. I let my community know back in December when I'd gone to the clinic the first time. Jay, you got a copy of all the blood work, but you weren't able to make much sense of it because it's like talking kilometers and miles, right? And it doesn't convert over very well.
No, exactly. I mean, I can vaguely, you know, you're pretty healthy. What was your testosterone level? I'm going from memory.
Okay, so the December reading came in at 9.2, and the measurement scale that they use is 3.6 on the bottom end and 11.2 on the top end, and that's NML / liters.
And that was before you started, right?
That was before I started, and my last set of blood work was March. So December, January, February, March. So that was 4 months. That was with arlipoic acid. That was a change to the water filtration. That was the removal of anything that's estrogen creating, and anything that suppresses testosterone as far as foods, drinks. Gave me increased recommendations for vitamin D to increase my vitamin D because that was super low. This far north of the equator, you don't get a lot of sunlight. So you have to take anywhere from, they recommend anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000 UI per day. I was taking about 6,000 and that wasn't enough. So I've just increased my dose to about 9 to 10,000. So about 9 to 10 pills a day. I kind of take them throughout the day. The best way to do that, I'm guessing, is when the sun's shining. So like from early in the morning through to when the sun sets. Like you don't want to take it like before you go to bed, right?
I mean, it doesn't really matter. I take 10,000 IUs a day too. And honestly, like you should be able to get a higher dosage encapsulation form. Like I always default to go life extension. I know you can order life extension shit in Canada. But I mean, I just take 2 capsules a day, but it is 10,000 IUs of DE or D3, excuse me.
Got it. And he also prescribed DHEA. So with all of those for the first 4 months, I got nothing. In fact, my testosterone levels dropped from 9.2 to 8.6.
Right.
So
yeah. So was your DHEA, did he say, see here, this is normally a form of quackery. And again, I'm not judging your doctor. I don't know, but DHEA is not needed when you're on testosterone at all anyway. So yeah, starting somebody on DHEA in lieu of trying to attempt testosterone, because I rarely see guys that are clinically, you know, from a lab-based association deficient in DHEA. But here's the fucked up thing. There's a lot of guys that take it because they read some stupid shit on the internet and they don't even have a deficiency it's SDHEA. And then all of a sudden they get whacked out. Their estrogen increases. They start having mood disorders. I mean, it's unfortunately, it should be regulated, even though it's not, because it is a hormone and guys are taking it like without any medicinal or clinical observed need. And it's just retarded. It makes people worse. I've never had to use DHEA in my life, but then again, also I've been on testosterone for so long. But once you're on testosterone, very rarely will you need DHEA. Now, there are some doctors that will disagree with me, but I've never seen it.
Okay, so he gave me a prescription for 25 milligram a day last time. Then he upped it to 50. What's your recommendation on that? Just
stop taking it.
Stop taking it.
It's worthless. Yeah, you're on test now. You don't need that shit.
Okay, so let's talk about what I'm on. I'll share it with you guys so you can kind of get a little bit of an understanding. I want to get Jay's feedback. So doctor prescribed testciponate, which is this bad boy right here.
Yep.
Okay.
DEPA.
Yeah.
It's depot testosterone. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. And this is a prescription.
Same stuff.
Looks like that, you know, in the vial. It's a very oily liquid.
Yeah, it's 10 milligram, 200 milligram per cc, right? Or per milliliter. Yeah.
So basically the way that it works, guys, you've got 2 sets of syringes. You've got your draw needle, which is this guy here.
Yep.
And it has a, you know, it's like a harpoon. This is a 22 gauge needle. If you tried to stick this in your body, you definitely.
I got guys that actually have injected with 18 gauges and sent me messages and say it hit my bone and I went limp. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you just shot yourself with a goddamn hand cannon.
Yeah, and that's what I got when I was in Mexico. Like I went to the pharmacy in Mexico and I was like, Decadurabolin, awesome. And then I took it out of the packaging and it's like, are you kidding me? Like it was an 18 gauge needle. I'm like, no fucking way. So I ended up just rubbing it on my knee joints. It actually helped, you know, believe it or not. So you basically draw with the harpoon and then you unscrew the top of the needle and you switch it out for one of these bad boys, which is a 25 gauge. It says 1 1/2.
Right. So,
Okay.
so you can do better than that. There are 27, 28 gauge needles. I mean, in America, you can find them. There's a lot of different sites. Richard, I can send you a link to a place that I get them, which are smaller. They don't need to be, I mean, I look at you, you don't need it 1.5 inch. It's too deep. It's too deep. You can go much shallower. You can inject at like 5/16 to an inch. I mean, I can tell right now you can definitely do. So you want to inject, guys, when you learn to inject, you want to inject here in the back, like, so it's your upper tricep and back of your arm. And then right here, okay. You want to inject right here on the outer quads. And then you can also inject like right here in the gluteal fat pocket, which is like the upper part of the butt. But when you're with 1 inch needles, it's really dangerous. Excuse me, 1.5 inch needles. It's dangerous at that depth because if you hit your sciatic nerve, you're going to fucking hit your head in the ceiling. Okay. So you don't want to, I don't fuck around with anything but 5/16 needles. Now I'm obviously very, very lean. I keep myself very lean year round. So if you're, you know, not under 15% body fat, you could, it's okay to use like a 1 inch or 1.5 inch needle. Just be very careful if you're injecting in your glute. But I don't recommend injecting in the glute because here's the thing that nobody will tell you in the physician community because they're too fucking stupid. The reality is that there is localized irritation from hyperplasia of the muscle fibers when you inject over time. So what that means in lay terms is you're going to get localized growth from injecting in your arms, in your quads, and it's muscular growth, right? Because if you're training with weights, and I hope the fuck you are, because if you're using testosterone and you're not training with weights, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, you're wasting your time.
You're completely wasting your time. But the reality is you will get localized growth. So over time, injecting in your upper arms, you know, back here in your tricep connector, you know, it's really your delt, but it's like kind of where your tricep ties into your delt. You're going to get growth. I mean, it will over time, you know, you'll get, you know, excess growth. When I first started testosterone, my arms were like literally 13 inches and my arms are almost 18 inches now. You know, I'm not a massive dude, but I mean, I look good, you know, in clothing, you know, I mean, I look good where I show up in professional clothing.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that because I took baseline measurements for every body measurement top to bottom. And I'll share this with you guys after about, I don't know, 3 to 6 months of being on test SIP to see if anything changes. But my arms have not changed in size. I mean, they're still 16 inches from, you know, it's the same size when I was my biggest naturally anyway.
Right.
So back to the injection site. So I've drawn here, let me just see if I can show this to you guys because the doctor showed me how to put it in my glutes, right?
Yep.
So I don't know if you guys can see that there. So let's say that those are butt cheeks. Can you guys see where the dot is in the upper left of my screen? I don't know if it's on the upper right of yours, if it's reversed, but basically, you basically draw like a cross down your butt cheek and you put it in the upper left. And he tells me that there is where the sciatic nerve is not. The sciatic nerve is down in this area over here. Why are you laughing, man? Come on.
Because I'm just laughing. I'm laughing because it doesn't really matter. If you hit your sciatic nerve, you're fucked. Seriously.
Okay. So you're suggesting skip the glutes because that's where he's telling me to do the injection, right? But you're saying shoulder or quad.
Yeah, right. So I wish I could do this. I have videos I'll send you guys. When you inject in your quad, the easiest is with a 5/16 in your quad because no matter how big you are, muscular, if you're not muscular at all, this is the easiest place to go because you have obviously the most real estate. Don't come sideways and inject like this because your cross-sectional muscle fibers right here are going to feel it. There's tons of nerve endings. So like the trick is to literally go at an angle. So I wish I could show you. I have videos I can show you guys this, but just imagine that you're, instead of going straight down or to the side, you're literally going at an angle like this.
All right. Well, if you have the video, then just send it over to me and I'll
for sure. But when you shallow inject with a 5/16 inch needle, it literally goes in like butter. It's like a knife going through butter. You don't even feel it. You're injecting, you're done.
Yeah. Those ones go in super easy. Now, the hard part, and that's, what the hell did I say it was? A 26 gauge?
No, 25. That's normal what most docs give you, but you know.
Yeah, 25. So yeah. The thing that I notice about it is a couple things. One, it takes a long time to push in. Like, is that normal? Like, are you supposed to push harder or?
No, I mean the issue probably is that the company that you know is providing you the injection, they probably just have a really thick jet oil based solution. The testosterone that I use, that I get, I can't remember. It comes from a compounding pharmacy at Empower, I think in Houston, but they use like ethyl oleate, and it's a really thin oil. Okay. And so it goes through. So sometimes the oils are a little thicker. So it might.
Yeah, this is coming from Pfizer.
Yeah. What does the solution say? Like on the side, does it say what it encompasses in the solution?
There's a big fucking sticker on the side. Hold on. Testosterone, cypionate, 100 milligrams, benzol, alcohol, 9 milligrams, benzol, benzenate, 0.1 milliliters, and cottonseed.
That's the problem.
Cottonseed oil?
It's thick. It's good. It's stable, and it's very fucking hygienic, but it's thick.
Okay.
Yeah, like grapeseed oil is way thinner, and so is ethyl oleate. They use those oils in a lot of stuff in the States now, and it just goes right in.
Okay. So we asked the question about the injection site, the needle. The hell else do I need to know? So you've got videos that'll show you how to put it in your quad or your shoulder?
Yeah, I have them all. I'll send them to you.
Okay, cool. And I'll share that with the guys on the page too. Now, doctor prescribed versus black market, because there's a few guys out there that'll just get their shit from a website. Who the hell knows where it comes from, if it's legit, if it's, I mean, like in this book here, one of the reasons why I didn't touch this shit when I was younger was, one, I was afraid of needles. I didn't know how to use them. I wasn't, sure. And then I started realizing here that a lot of these are basically counterfeited. And I was like in my late 20s, and I was dating this girl, and she was telling me that her and her ex-boyfriend were making counterfeit test sip in their basement with fucking peanut oil.
Wesson oil. Dude, I've literally seen people walk up with a giant, big 5cc thing, inject it in the side of a Wesson oil thing, and pull it out and put them in bottle. Yeah, dude, I've seen it all, man. So
what's your take on stuff that you get with a prescription versus guys that might just say, you know what, I don't want to deal with a doctor. I want to order it off the internet with Bitcoin?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fine. Yeah, here's the issue. I always recommend that guys have their shit tested, but as long as you're getting it from like a legitimate source and you trust the person you're buying it from, then the likelihood that you're going to get scammed on something like testosterone because it's so fucking cheap is low. And so there's not an issue. We're actually creating a university. It's going to be an online school called TRT University, and hopefully it'll come out later this year. I'm involved in so many projects right now. We're also doing a documentary on the optimization space, but it's very simple to learn how to do this. Whether you get it from, a gray market source or from a doctor, it's usually the same thing. I mean, the underground suppliers are usually just, guys that work for pharmacies that do this in their spare time to make a side hustle. So the risk, the real risk of this is really low, as long as you're getting it from, somebody that you can at least hopefully verify, whether it's some guy at your gym, someplace online. I don't see a lot of counterfeiting of testosterone. There's tons of counterfeiting of like anabolics and some like other different agents, especially like HCG and growth hormone and stuff like that. Even peptides, like all the research company chemical manufacturers are scammers, mostly convicted felons. You can't trust those people, but like, it's really weird that you're going to get somebody again from a legitimate source that has a holographic seal, label on a vial that is going to, make bogus testosterone. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a recommended site for anybody that wants to get it off the internet?
I don't. I used to have a couple of different sites, but now because I work with so many doctors, I just call a guy up and say, hey, I need a script, so I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore, but they're out there, man. I wish, I could probably, if I, make a couple calls to some people, I could probably get you guys links, but I can't verify them myself because I haven't bought like underground gray market stuff in more than a decade.
Yeah, and guys, it's not expensive if you get a prescription for it. It's like the price of a coffee a day. It's not expensive.
Yeah, no, it's totally dirt cheap, man.
And it's the real shit. It's come from a pharmacy. It's it's been checked, right? Like You're not jamming peanut oil in your ass or anything like that. What else should I be asking you based on the blood work that you saw, buddy?
Dude, you're pretty healthy. Just make sure you're what kind of diet do you follow?
Mostly meat and veg. You know, I throw smoothies down more. I'll throw creatine, glutamine, BCCAs, you know, like the standard stuff that, you know, is proven to work. But, you know, I tend to eat fairly clean. I mean, I'll eat shit from time to time, like a bag of chips or something like that.
I mean, I can send you guys my book too on intermittent fasting. I'm doing a huge podcast this afternoon with the Family Alpha on breaking down fasting and stuff like that. But my intermittent fasting book is like really based on the research, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's definitely the most research-based intermittent fasting book on the planet because we actually, so where all the people that, if you guys watching right now, if you fast, the problem about fasting is training. If you train fasted, you're fucking yourself up and you're setting yourself up for like real problems later because you cannot train fasted and build muscle, right? And muscle is the greatest deterrent to disease as we age. So you've got to always make sure that your glycogen stores are full when you train. Otherwise, you're just going to get hurt and your training is going to suck because you don't have any energy. I mean, you know, I know a lot about ketogenic dieting. I also helped Lyle McDonald, who wrote the very first book on ketogenic dieting, literally in the mid-90s. I was a guinea pig research guy for him for years. And so I know a lot about ketogenic dieting. Ketogenic dieting is great for people who need to lose fat or for medically required fat loss. But the problem with ketogenic dieting is it's horrible for performance and it's no good for building muscle for the exact same reasons. Now, there's guys out there now, brilliant dudes that have ketone salts that they use for energy before train if you want to stay in ketosis for all, but it's so fucking expensive. You know, a milligram of that shit is like fucking $2,600, right? So it's not population wide even available yet. So, you know, anybody who comes at me with that, I just say, I laugh. But, you know, fasting to me is the best diet to adopt because, and obviously I'm a shill for our diet, but I eat like a fucking pig every other day. Today is my fasting day. I don't eat. I do cardio in the morning. I do cardio at night. And my body fat, I stay between 6 and 8% body fat year round. Now, obviously I'm in Southern California. You know, you're in Canada. It's cold. I would definitely be fatter if I was there because I'd eat more and it's colder. Your body, you know, adapts to its environment. But this type of diet, you can absolutely stay in this kind of shape by just, you know, fasting every other day. It's essentially alternate day fasting. But I do a lot of hacks to it. And again, I'll send you guys the copy of the Metabolic Blood Torch Diet book because it's an amazing book.
And when you're fasting, you say that you don't train. So if today's a fasting day, you don't pick up anything heavy. You're just doing some cardio.
Exactly. You do not ever do anything anaerobic, anything that's resistance based when you're fasting because your body is not in a metabolic state to handle the training. You don't have glycogen in your muscles. And then also your body just can't repair itself. You know, you're not giving it nutrients to obviously repair its tissue. And that's where most of the fasting people fuck up. You know, Martin Burkhan's Lean Gains, and Martin Burkhan's and I used to be friends. He's a fucking cocksucker. We're not friends anymore. Fuck him. But the reality is he's wrong. And I have the research to prove it. And so, you know, you just, when you go in fasted and you train at maximum intensity, right? You lift heavy things. You do not have the neurological recruitment because your muscle glycogen stores are tapped and you just cannot get the, you know, you can't literally get a pump. Your body cannot, like, literally from a metabolic level, you just don't have anything to pump it up. There's no glycogen to push into, you know, existential muscles as you're in your bloodstream as you're training. So it's not going to happen. Now, fasting to me is like you have to literally be 24 hours fasted. That's fasted, not this like 16 hours or 12 hours fasted and you go train. That's fine. You can go train after 12 or 16 hours, but then you're not getting the benefits of fasting anyway because fasting is 24 hours. Now,
so
go ahead.
So what I was going to ask is if you're training, you know, with the intention to build lean muscle mass and burn fat,
sure.
I've been told the best time of the day is like around between 1 and 4 in the afternoon is when you get the best results, when you got the most energy, and when your hormone levels are best optimized. What's your feeling on the best time of day to train to build lean muscle?
That's a good comment. So actually, it's kind of right. I mean, everybody's different from circadian rhythm and, you know, based on sleep cycles and stuff. There's a little bit of variation, but peak blood flow, so optimal blood flow for men is normally between 4 and 7. You know, depending on where you are again in your 24-hour cycle. So there is, you know, a hormonal effect to that, but it's very, very transient. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I definitely can tell you that training heavy early in the morning is counterproductive because you just do not have peak blood flow. Now, that doesn't mean that the body can't adapt. There are plenty of men out there who fucking are animals and they train at fucking 4:30. You know, Michael Hearn, trains at Gold's Venice at 4:30 to 5:30 every single morning of his life. You know, he's like a little older than I am now, and he looks amazing. He has a world-class physique, but he's changed his body to adapt to that lifestyle. Most men, you know, who just like regularly want to train early in the morning, you're not going to build muscle. It's not an optimal environment. Again, it's all related to blood flow.
Does that change at all when you're on TRT? Like, can you work out at different times of the day, and does it make a difference?
I don't think so. I mean, again, I think everything is acclimation. I think you can convert and train your body. Anything is possible. That's my motto. So, I mean, you can really consistently create any type of lifestyle you want based on what you want to do. But I just think for me, the easiest diet, right? Because all of us like want to live a life of robust. We want to travel. We want to eat what we want to eat. We want to do what we want to do. You know, if we can have our druthers. And to me, fasting just gives you a life where it's like, okay, look, motherfucker, every other day I got to be a Spartan. You know, it's that simple. You don't even have to meal prep. I mean, my wife and I still meal prep because I like to make grass-fed beef. I cook up a bunch of grass-fed beef, and I don't do it myself anymore. I have people to do it for me. I just pay college kids to do it, but they'll come over to my house. They'll fucking cook up a giant, you know, probably like 4 pounds, 3.5 pounds to 4 pounds of grass-fed beef in a giant wok, simmer it, you know, throw a bunch of seasoning on it. And then we'll make either brown rice or lentils. And then, you know, she makes them into Tupperware meals. So I usually have like 20 Tupperware meals a week. And, you know, I eat depends. Some days I eat 4 days a week. Some days I eat 3 days a week. And those are my meals. And sometimes I can make enough meals on a Sunday that lasts 2 weeks. You know, and that's the way I go. And not everybody is as Spartan as me. I mean, you could easily, as long as you're a dude and you fast 18 to 20 hours when you fast, you're going to get body fat burning. You're going to absolutely get increased thermogenesis. You're going to get increased glycogen. You also get catecholamine formation, which is at the end, which is like the release of fight or flight hormones, which are critical because that's the shit that burns stubborn body fat. So for guys where we hold our fat in our belly and our love handles in that region down by the belly button, the soprilic, that's where the fat gets burned when you fast beyond 18 hours. That's why I always laugh when people tell me, oh yeah, I fast 12 to 16 hours. I'm like, that's not fucking fasting. That's nothing. That's just some bullshit book that you read.
Awesome. You said that you inject about 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. He told me to do about 100 milligrams a week. So I do it twice a week. So I did one Thursday and again Sunday. So I've done my third injection. I did my third one this morning. So is that a good split for 50?
I think it's perfect, dude. When I'm really, really super busy, I'll do twice a week too.
Yeah.
I think your dude, like I told you, I think your doctor's on it.
What's the life of the testosterone in your blood? Like from the time that you inject it, like when does it peak? And then when does it drop off to the point where you need to give yourself another shot?
Yeah,
usually?
It's a good question. It's all and by the way, guys, TOTbible.com on Amazon, buy the book. I always tell guys, I'll send you the PDF for free, but it's good to have the paperback because you're going to if you go on tests, you're going to refer to this book your whole life. I mean, I have so many doctors that use the book in their practice every day. There's so much information in there, but normally 36 hours is peak bioavailability in the bloodstream from an ester like anethate or cypionate, which are the longer acting esters. Propionate, which is what I use. Sometimes I use cypionate, but I also use propionate. Propionate is half that half-life. So usually it's like in 24 hours you're at peak, and then at 36 hours you're dropping, and so that's why you inject every other day. But the goal, whatever you're injecting, regardless of your delivery system, is always to never have a valley, right? So if you look at your 7-day administration, you got 2 injections, I got 3. You want to always time the injection so that just as the test is starting to drop from a half-life in the bloodstream, you give yourself another injection so your frequency hits right there. So you never ever like bottom out. It's always kind of like falling and then going up. So you're always running into it. So that's how your body's going to stay like all the dopamine, because obviously testosterone increases dopamine formation, and also you feel better. That's, that noticeable high energy, the way I am right now, like super high energy, right? Like this is just fully balanced, fully optimized, always have dopamine high. I mean, I'm a type A person naturally, but I wouldn't be like this unless I wasn't optimized on testosterone. But normally it's 36 to 48 hours is like when it starts to really drop. And so that's why you don't want to go longer than like say 3 to 3.5 days between injections. 3 days to me is the longest you want to go.
Got it. Okay. Do you know much about stem cell injections for damaged joints, by the way?
I did. Actually, yesterday I wasn't on it, but my business partner interviewed like one of the top stem cell doctors in the world for a whole hour. So you guys should go watch that podcast if you want a lot of info on that. But I do. Go ahead, ask a question.
Okay. So is that video on your channel?
It is, yeah.
Okay, so I'll check it out after. But question for you. So when I went into the doctor's office, I brought this book with me, and I was like, "Can you prescribe me Deca-Durable?" And he goes, "No, I don't prescribe it." But he's not that familiar with it. The reason why that I was asking, once again, is because I wanted to ease the joint pain. So I've got my left knee is just fucked. It's just like wear and tear. Like I used to put like 10 plates aside on the squat rack, or not the squat rack, the fucking I just did all the dumb shit, and it's just like wear and tear. The joints kind of at the end of the way that it would perform at its best. Arthritis, fucking partial tear in the ACL. I've done everything to it, right? So that was my first approach. I've noticed a slight easing in my joint pain with a test sip. It's only been a week. Does that improve much over time?
No, it's not going to do shit for you, but there are stuff that will. BPC 150 is like the peptide that will literally massively reduce inflammation at the nerve. But if you're bone on bone, or if your cartilage is like, you can feel the grinding. I mean, a PRP injection in your knee is going to help, dude. I mean, actually,
what about a PRP injection with stem cells from adipose fat?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. I mean, essentially, you're going to get, I forget what the doc yesterday, Dr. Robert Komenarek was talking about, but it's like the occulted fat cell. I mean, I don't know enough about to speak at a super high level about stem cells, but whatever. If you go to a top doctor, you're going to get the right stuff, and that shit. They say 5 years. You'll get 5 years life expectancy. Depending on the damage or the severity of your injury. If you're bone on bone or cartilage is nearly gone, you might only get 3, but it's worth every penny, dude. Because like I've got friends that are, ex-pro athletes who literally couldn't lift. They couldn't, their shoulder impingement. They couldn't even lift a bar. They couldn't go here. And literally after 2 months, because the injection is fucking painful, dude. I'm not going to lie to you. Okay. So you're fucking immobilized in that joint. Whatever it is, whether it's knee or the shoulder, you're going to be immobilized for at least 3 weeks. And then, because it's obviously destroying the localized irritation and inflammation. And then it literally regrows the nerve. So you can get full ROM within 3 months. I mean, one of my buddies who's like gotten three injections in his shoulder in like the last 7 years now is like a beast again. He's 49, I think. He'll be 50. He actually turns 50 this year, and he's fucking benching like 315 pounds for like 6-7 reps. You know what I mean? And he couldn't even lift a bar like for 2 years before PRP. He even considered PRP. So his shoulder's been damaged. So I'm pretty sure, I don't want you to expect a miracle, but I mean, from what some of these guys are telling me, like you can definitely get full range of motion back in your knee.
Interesting. Okay.
It's pretty amazing shit, dude.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I've gotten lots of great feedback on it. I'll be sharing that with you guys, by the way, as time kind of progresses, because I ultimately, just use myself as a guinea pig on stuff like this as we go. Brian was asking a question in the comments about testosterone and anabolic steroids being illegal. What are the reasons? And what I mean is the political reason. It's not like it kills you like drugs.
Yeah. So I'll speak to that. So there should be absolutely zero reason that it's not legal. It should not be a controlled substance. It's not even a drug. It's a hormone, right? I mean, it's a lifeblood element of both males and females. And remember, women also do well in testosterone. They do amazingly well. They just have to use a much lower therapeutic dosage. But as I was saying yesterday, I spoke to Dr. Uzi Reese. This guy is literally a legend, a living legend. He's 74 years old. He is the doctor to the Hollywood stars. Like every single fucking A-list celebrity is his doctor. Now, he's not allowed to talk about them. He's not allowed to mention their names. Clearly, he has NDAs. But he was just telling me, like, the stuff he does with these guys. This guy is, like, so advanced. He's using peptides that most people didn't even know about existed. Like, even the research chemical companies have been selling peptides didn't know that these things existed when he was using them. So this guy is so fucking knowledgeable. But he was telling me yesterday about when he used to prescribe testosterone with his patients in 1981. So here's how fucked up it is, guys. And you might know this, Richard, but like up until 1992, if you went into any like hardcore gym anywhere around the world, guys were injecting testosterone, any drug, and DECA, Equipoise, Winstrol, everything, Primobolan, right in the gyms because it wasn't illegal. And then in 1992, they made it a controlled substance, which is, the world doping, came in and the United States government got involved and they basically just said that, no, you can't have testosterone or you can't have steroids or anabolics or any of that shit anymore. So the idea that these things are truly harmful to people is fucking nonsense. All the bullshit misinformation that they've given about, Lyle Alzado is kind of the cover boy, I think, for it. And all these other pro athletes that went crazy and had brain damage and brain cancer and all this other bullshit for using anabolics. It's all a bunch of nonsense. I know tons of guys. I consult with some of the highest level people in the world, in the performance enhancement world. And they're in their 60s and 70s now. And these guys are fine. They're in perfect health. So to think that even using super physiologic levels of these drugs are, going to kill you or shorten your lifespan. Yeah, they might. But I mean, there's also evidence that they won't. I think the majority of people that die young from using drugs, it's because they also expand into the recreational arena and they take too much. And usually it's too soon. And then they're obviously combining shit. They're drinking alcohol. They're doing fucking Coke. God knows what else they're doing. And then they're doing too much of everything. Right. So
let's talk about the recreational shit. Cause I mean, sure. Alcohol is legal throughout most places of the world and, weed's becoming more legal. It's going to be legal here in July. How does weed and alcohol affect testosterone optimization therapy?
It's horrible. It's literally horrible. I actually posted an article on Twitter about a month ago from High Times, actually. Using marijuana, smoking any marijuana will increase estrogen formation, and actually smoking marijuana while taking testosterone will actually increase the conversion of testosterone into aromatase. So marijuana and testosterone is not a good combination. If you're going to smoke, to go to sleep, just smoke a bare minimum, but it's not good. And then alcohol, alcohol literally converts to, not triglycerol. I forget the ethyl alcohol conversion, but it literally creates fat in your bloodstream that is sticky fat that sticks to your internal organs. It sticks to all the places that you don't want it. So again, and this is in the TOT Bible, if you're going to drink alcohol, you should only drink at max a day, 4 ounces of red wine or almost 3 ounces of like brown liquor, but by itself, that's it. Like you put sugar in it, you add shit to it, it's bad. And then it makes the stored fat of the conversion of alcohol in the bloodstream to worse. So, I mean, it's obviously, it's up to guys, how you want to live your life. I don't judge anybody. I mean, I don't drink alcohol. I smoke marijuana every now and then if I'm partying or something like that, but it's not something that I regularly do. I know there's really good medicinal weed out there nowadays. So if it's something you're going to do and you're going to use testosterone, just recognize that it can definitely increase conversion of testosterone to aromatase.
Cool. Got a few more questions here. How much more time do I have you for till 2 o'clock or?
I'm good, dude.
Okay.
I don't have to go anywhere.
All right, cool. About this book. Yes. Okay. So what does Jay consider to be the low point where men should consider testosterone replacement? So what are the signals, I suppose, that guys should look for where they should maybe think, oh, fuck, I need to find a doctor to maybe check out my blood markers?
So, yeah. So for sure is if you're indecisive at all, like you start second guessing yourself, you can't make a decision, you're asking your wife or your significant other, for their, affirmation, that's normally the first sign. Like that's normally the number one sign. I usually, when I talk to men, I do this so much for a living. I can tell in your voice when you're deficient. Like you drown. And by the way, the doctor yesterday, Dr. Uzi Reeves, he was talking about guys in their early 20s as being, he refers to them as a mutation. When you guys see this podcast, this is groundbreaking shit because this guy's never gone public before. He still lectures and stuff like that, but he literally is the doctor to the stars, and he was so excited to come on my podcast. He's got this thick Jewish, Yiddish, Israeli. It was mind-blowing. I was sitting there in just awe of this guy, and he fucking read my entire book, bro. He literally is talking to me about like things in my book, and I'm sitting there just like, I had a boner, talking to this guy. But it's usually for most guys, it's you become indecisive and then you also just get dead tired. You were saying 6:30, it's way sooner. If you're dead by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's usually a sign too. And then if you have brain fog, which is kind of related to that, that's the number one sign. It's not sexual dysfunction. Most guys can fuck like rabbits and be completely deficient. because it's not signaling in the brain. You don't have a defect in the gonads that is like not wanting you to have sex. But you definitely can have erectile strength issues. You know, you go soft. That's usually from high estrogen, where you just can't keep a hard erection. It just goes soft on you, and then you don't know what to do. And then, you know, these fucking poor guys are getting Viagra and shit like that. And then some of them ended up having fucking heart attacks. Because, by the way, if you're using Viagra for a sex drug, stop fucking taking it. Use Cialis. That's the only thing. That drug is a fucking legendary drug. It's called an endothelial dysfunction drug. It actually prevents a million other great things or bad things in your body from happening and improves good things to happen. You should be taking 2.5 to 5 milligrams of Cialis a day, every single day of your life. Doctors will write you a script for it. If you go in and you say, hey, doc, I'm having problem pissing. My piss vacuum, my piss stream is not as strong as it once was. And they'll just write you a script because that's like the #1 treatment now for BPH, which is benign prostate hypertrophy, which is the narrowing as you get older. You know, everybody as you get older, your prostate, you know, increases in size, which is lessening your piss volume and your stream. But it's amazing. It does so many things. It improves reduces vascular inflammation. So it actually is like think of it as a fumigator for your arteries. I mean, it literally goes in and fucking takes out plaque out of your arteries. It obviously increases nitrogen oxide formation in the penis, in the tip of the penis, which is, you know, increases the size and increases the hardness of your erections. But then it also is fucking neuroprotective. So it's what a neurosurgeon would say is anti-sclerotic. So it actually cleans your dendritic and your synaptic pathways in your brain. So it's a fucking most amazing drug. I have a whole literally subchapter about it in the TOT Bible on why everyone should be using Cialis. But if you guys are not on Cialis right now, fucking go get on Cialis. Even if you can buy it online, you can buy it. The best way to do it is to take the liquid form. And I don't have any, you know, sponsorship in any of these companies, but like where I get my own is a site called Maxim, MAXIM peptide.com.
Yeah, I gotta write that.
They'll sell you. They usually do like a bottle of 30 milliliters. If you buy 2, they give you a 3rd free, and it's totally legit. I know the owner of the company. Again, I don't have any money or anything. I don't get referrals or anything like that. But I mean, with these peptide motherfuckers, half of them are felons. So when you find a guy who's legit, that's where you want to buy from.
So it's MAXUM peptide.
No, MAXIM.
IM. Okay. Do they ship to Canada or is it just in the US?
I'm pretty sure they'll ship to Canada.
And so, like most guys will use, you know, Cialis just to have like Fuckfest 2018, right? Like,
yeah, no, you want to just use a low micro, again, Tim Ferriss, micro effective dose to get all the health benefits. And then when you want to go on a weekend to just go nuts, then just, you know, bump it up to 20 milligrams or 30 or whatever you want to do.
Got it. Okay.
Just take it every day. It's every day, 2.5 to 5 milligrams. In the liquid forms, when it comes, they give you a dropper, and half the dropper is normally, if you get 30 milligrams per milliliter, is 15. So I usually just take like 1/5.
That was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you, because I was watching one of your videos and you were talking about basically making that part of your, you know, life regimen when you're at a certain age. And I made note here, and I'm glad you kind of covered it because it was kind of pushed towards the bottom. So I wasn't sure if I was going to get to it. But are there any downsides to taking Cialis? You know, if you're trying to manage your hormones, like, do you have any, like, does it process poorly through your liver or anything like that?
No, it's a great question, dude. Dude, that's the best, maybe the best. Dude, I got to give me a pound here. Give me a pound. That's like literally one of the best questions anyone ever asked me, because they actually have research right now and no one even knows about this. It's like, we have a connection, bro. There's research coming out right now that Cialis is actually an anti-androgen. So it actually might push estrogen down without giving you all the negative side effects, which you very smartly talked about, which is the bone density issues, the guys that take too high dosages of AIs, the doctors quack them up because they write those scripts when they don't even need it. But there may be something to Cialis that actually is also pushing down the estrogenic formation that testosterone can lead to from aromatase. So, and again, it's new research. It's very groundbreaking, but no, there's literally nothing. It doesn't convert in the liver. It doesn't have any hepatotoxicity or anything like that. It's just, it truly is an amazing drug. And there's at least 10,000 fucking studies on it since they started using it for sexual dysfunction in men. And now obviously they're using it for heart. They're using it for prostate. I mean, it's frontline script for prostate shit now. So it has so many different functions, and they still don't even know them all, but it's an amazing drug, dude.
There's a comment there. Ivar says the Cialis has been reported to raise cortisol.
Only if massively, good point. Only if massively overdosed by retards, right?
Yeah.
So if 30 milligrams of Cialis must be good, then 60 is better. No.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. That's like, that sounds like something Dan Bilzerian would do. He'll go do a couple lines of Coke and grind up like 60 milligrams of Cialis and go on a fuck fest or something.
If you take 60 milligrams of Cialis, you are literally going to walk around for at least 36 hours with a fucking perma boner.
Well, he was actually talking about that in a podcast, I think, with Tim Ferriss, his experiment in Vegas where he was high on everything and boner pills and he had to go to the hospital. He basically had a heart attack at like 20.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, exactly.
All right. Got another question. Oh, what's SHBG? What is that?
So sex hormone binding globulin is also important. Now, I have a whole chapter in my book on understanding it, and it's written by the world's foremost physician who's done all of the research on sex hormone binding globulin. So basically, sex hormone binding globulin is just another hormone in the human body that, not to get into a super esoteric discussion, that depending on its level can also affect estrogen and testosterone production. Now, you'll get a lot of different answers from a lot of smart people. My take on sex hormone binding globulin, guys, is if you're on testosterone, don't fuck with it.
So the question was, how do you reduce SHBG?
You go on testosterone.
Okay, there you go. Got a question from Charles, and he goes, listening to Donovan Sharp's Patreon podcast, he mentioned that he does take TRT and donates blood once a quarter. Reason being his blood is too dense and has a high risk of heart attack. What are your thoughts on that?
That's not true, but there's no risk of heart attack. So it's a great question. Again, everything, guys, there's not a single question that is not covered on this in the TOT Bible. That book is the Bible. That's why we called it the Bible. But understanding hemoglobin and hematocrit, which are the two levels, the two biomarkers in the body that determines the viscosity of the blood, the thickness of the blood. So what happens when you go on testosterone, and this is mostly injectable, you increase the oxygenation of your red blood cells. So when you increase oxygenation of your red blood cells, which is good, it's healthy, the blood becomes a little bit thicker. Okay. So hence, in the past, before doctors figured this out, and by the way, less than 10% of doctors in North America have figured this out yet. The doctors that who've read my book and provided the research for my book are the leaders in the field, in the world on this. There's like this old status quo number that you had to be below 18 hemoglobin and below 50 hematocrit. And by the way, I don't want to get into it because it's esoteric, but the explanations of the math is in the book, so you understand what is what. But they realize now that those numbers are not legit in the real world because they have all this research now about people that live and breathe in high altitudes like Denver. And then there's other countries in South America that have that, like we live in the Andes and stuff like that. So they have all this research from people that breathe at over 5,000 foot elevations. And they realize now that the human body, being such a dynamic homeostatic mechanism, can adapt to survive at any level. So people on testosterone are similar to people living at higher altitudes, especially guys on testosterone who take care of themselves. And so the truth is that when you go on injectable testosterone, if you want to make sure that the oxygenation, the increased oxygenation in your red blood cells is being properly gotten rid of, deaminated, and also just kind of like through metabolic exchange, the waste, you should do cardio. And this is where a lot of guys fuck up. A lot of guys have a bro mentality. I don't need cardio, bro. I just lift weights 3 days a week and I don't need to do cardio. But that's not true, because especially on testosterone, because of this enhanced viscosity, this enhanced oxygenation of your red blood cells, the cardio increases the exchange of nutrients and byproducts and waste and all the other things. So your cardiovascular system becomes more efficient. You actually increase your cardiovascular architecture, which allows you to be more vascular, obviously less body fat, and ultimately more vascular protective, because again, the more you have this exchange of tissues and nutrients and waste and all this stuff from the cardio, the exercise itself, and obviously the sweat and all the other stuff, the deamination, you're going to just be easier, or actually you'll be more fit aerobically, which leads to better vascular health. So you want to do cardio regularly on testosterone. This is not something that can be justified or argued The best doctor in the world, by the way, Dr. Neil Rouzier, who's done all of the research on the elevated patients. He also is a big believer and prescriber of testosterone, and he laughs at all these people that say that there's a big risk of not donating blood when your levels of hemoglobin are over 18 or over 50, because he's actually changed the mean. It's now 22 and 56. So, and nobody is over 56 on a hemoglobin, I mean, on hematocrit, and over 22 hemoglobin, unless you have a disease, unless there's something going on with your iron levels in your blood.
Question for you about the cardio. So would you recommend, like, at what intensity, meaning like 100% is maximum intensity and 0 is none? So at what intensity, and 2 for how long?
Great question. All in the book too. And I'm big on this. I'm super analytical on cardio. I mean, again, dude, guys, to all you guys, and I'm sorry if I'm not addressing you guys by names. I appreciate you guys watching here and stuff. I see a lot of you in the background. It just depends on your lifestyle goals. If you're going to go on testosterone, you have to do cardio to obviously maintain your health and not have any kind of risk cardiovascularly. Not that testosterone will, increase risk anyway, but it's just better to be healthier and all that stuff. But to answer Richard's question, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. If you're fat and you need to lose body fat, using, fartlek / intervals / Tabata / some sort of, yo-yoing the intensity so that you're at a steady state and then you're at a high intensity state and you're, constantly varying that. That's great for body fat loss. The problem that I have as an aging athlete, at 47, and all of you guys are aging, we're dying every day, right? Is that the more the intense of the movement patterning, the more shearing forces you put on the lower legs, your lower, what do you call your lower tier? I forget what it's called, but your posterior chain. So the more stress you put on the posterior chain, the more likely you're going to have injuries, right? You're going to have soft tissue shit in your knees. Your fucking shins are going to go bad. You have the possibility of tearing your Achilles tendon. There's just a lot of risk that you put from shearing forces, the higher the intensity of the cardio. So in my belief, you should do steady state at a heart rate of somewhere between, depending on your conditioning, depending on your age, depending on your body fat, 125 and 140. I don't like seeing guys go over 140 beats per minute because, again, if you go over 140 beats per minute because you're doing intervals, that's different. But in a steady state form, that will keep you at a nice, conditioned. You should be able to have a conversation with somebody if you have your headset and you're doing a bike or you're walking on an incline on a treadmill. You should be able to carry on a conversation and not be too winded. But steady state is better. Because when you condition your body to handle steady state, your body then becomes conditioned to run on free fatty acids or glycerol. And free fatty acids, when your body's conditioned to run on that as its fuel source, is going to lead to better fat burning.
And for how long? Like, how long should the cardio session be?
It's a good question. It really just depends on your goals. If you're looking to lose a lot of body fat, so that's a good question. Let me just say that. If you're
let me just rephrase it then, because I'm going to be selfish here. So I'm like 199, 200 pounds, 6 foot, just under 6'3".
Solid.
I very rarely do cardio. I mean, like I'll mountain bike. I'll do like 10 minutes to warm up before I'll do a workout. So for a guy like me that's already fairly lean, like how much cardio should I do to keep my cardiovascular system strong so that I can improve lean body mass and cut fat?
So now that you're on test, 4 days a week minimum, 6 days a week maximum, no longer than 20 to 25 minutes per session.
Got it.
And I would do for you, bro, I would literally, because of your knee, I would walk on an incline at 3 miles an hour, 20 to 25 minutes. And, if you can, put a fucking treadmill in your house and just do it in your house when you're watching TV, put it in front of fucking the boob tube or some shit like that. I have a really expensive life cycle on the side of my bed. I have that's my life is my bed. And then it's big and it's fucking expensive. And then on the other side is my treadmill. And my wife walks on the treadmill mostly, and it's a really nice commercial grade industrial. And so, if I want to do a bike, I do a treadmill. I have a fucking $6,000 life cycle bike because that's my life. I fucking live on my bike. I mean, I literally do every single day at least 35 minutes of bike.
Got it. Now, I got this question about SARMs. I don't know what SARMs are. This has come up a couple of times on our secret Facebook page.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Dude goes, what's your opinion on taking SARMs when you're under 40? He says, I'm 31 and on a stack of GW501516 and LGD4033 for a 2-month cycle, and he's liking the results halfway through. What is SARMs, and what's your view on that?
Okay, so SARMs stand for selective androgen receptor modulators. SARMs are sorry, bro, you don't want to hear this, but I'm all about dropping science and truth. SARMs are absolutely fucking worthless. Now, you might actually be getting some, anabolic benefits, some sort of enhancement, some sort of increased tissue synthesis, whatever. The issue, though, is twofold. A, you could get 5 times the value or better results with real fucking testosterone. And B, it is the same from a metabolic clearance standpoint in that it's actually lowering your body's natural hormone production. So as soon as you come off that fucking horse shit, your body is going to be suppressed. You're going to be inhibited. Your, endocrine system, which is known as your HPTA, your hypogonadal pituitary axis, is going to be suppressed. So now you're fucked. So now you're on that bullshit and you're not on real shit like testosterone, and you're hooked on it. You come off of it and now your body's going to go into limp dick mode and all the other bullshit that happens when your natural system's suppressed. I've read all of the research on every single SARM that was ever created. They're all fucking horseshit, okay? There's not one that's out there that's actually anywhere close to legitimate in comparison to testosterone. Now, on paper, theoretically, they offer promise, but no one's delivered anything yet, and everybody that sells SARMs is a scammer. I won't mention people's names, but I know a lot of the people that produce SARMs, and they're scammers. So the likelihood that you're getting something that's legit, especially if you're buying it from an underground peptide research chemical company, is very, very unlikely. It's less than 50%. It's probably saline solution or some sort of salt water. It's probably not even legit. Now, that's not to say that you're not getting some benefit, because if it is legit, like I said, the negative effect of coming off of it is really going to fuck you up. I know so many guys who go on these boards who claim that SARMs are this, this, and this. And then you start asking them and you interview them and you're like, okay, dude, prove it to me. What are you on? And then all of a sudden, boom, they're on all these anabolics. Well, how the fuck do you know that SARMs is doing jack shit? So they don't. So under clinical studied conditions, they're worthless, but they're double worthless because they're actually inhibiting your body's natural testosterone production. So when you come off, you're really fucked.
Cool. So if you guys have some questions, start posting them in the group chat there, or just unmute yourself if you want to ask Jay the question, if you want to chat. Because I've got everything dealt with on my end here. Brian says, what's the difference between testosterone and other anabolic steroids like Dianabol? Well, Dianabol is an injectable, or is that a pill?
So Dianabol, D-ball, the famous D-ball, like
D-ball is a pill. It'll fuck up your liver.
There actually is an injectable form of Dianabol. It used to be made out of Mexico. It was called Reforvit B. It doesn't exist anymore. But so that's actually a really good question. So anything other than testosterone is known as a synthetic. Okay. So testosterone being the base steroid, actually dihydrotestosterone is the really true androgenic base steroid, but testosterone is what we use.
Isn't that primobolan?
No. So
that's a synthetic too?
There's a million different synthetic drugs. Okay. But all of them are some derivative of testosterone. Okay. A carbon, isomer removed, or something else done to the chemical structure of the actual testosterone molecule, but they're all forms of testosterone. Now, there are obviously some anabolics that don't have anything to do with testosterone, like 19-nors. And there's others, and they're very, very, very exotic, esoteric chemicals, but all of them are no good long-term. Not to say, and we can talk about this if you guys want to go deep, because I know everything there is to know about this stuff, but they're not good long-term like testosterone is, because they create a negative feedback loop, unlike testosterone, because they're foreign to the human body, right? We naturally produce testosterone. So exogenous testosterone, the body doesn't see any need to go crazy, from a haywire internal diagnostic situation, because its body's used to handling testosterone. Now, when the body gets a super physiologic dose of testosterone, which is like a pro bodybuilder level, which, just so you know, Richard, these fucking idiots, those guys taking 5 grams of testosterone a week.
Oh yeah.
If you've ever met a guy on 5 grams of testosterone, they are literally how do I say it? They're cyborgs. They can't sleep. They're basically, their central nervous system, their CNS is so elevated that there is no way to sleep. I mean, they're literally like super soldiers. So think of a super soldier, but they're not fun to be around. Now, also to add to that, testosterone does not make people roid rage. It does not make people crazy. It does not make people nuts. If you're nuts, though, and you're high energy and you're a psychotic motherfucker, which there's a lot of people out there like that, then testosterone can make you more psychotic. But it's not going to just make a mild-mannered, pleasant, normal dude, even at super physiological levels, change his normal temperament. But they can definitely exacerbate a person's temperament on the right side. Because remember, it's an androgenic, and an androgenic increases an androgen's response. And the androgen is male, masculinity. So you're going to be a little bit more amped or a little bit more hyper if you're on super physiological levels of it. But all the other anabolics, you can't take them by themselves. Okay. So if you're going to use an anabolic, and I highly recommend certain anabolics, there's a lot of things out there that, depending on your genetics and your biochemical individuality, can work great for you. Which primobolan can be one. There's also one called methanolone, which I forget what the street name of it is. But it's a powerful DHT derivative. DHT is what we were talking about just before, dihydrotestosterone. You suppress that DHT, you actually increase the body's free testosterone conversion of your testosterone. So it actually can make you lower your testosterone dosage even more because it frees up the active testosterone from your exogenous source. So you can lower everything. And that's also a good drug. And for some reason, I can't think of what that's called right now. There's also a pill that you can get. It's legal, by the way, in Canada. I mean, not Canada for you guys, the UK. It's called Proviron. And that's just a pill. And that is also a DHT derivative drug. And so it also improves the body's conversion of testosterone into free testosterone. So again, you can lower your testosterone dosage and take this. It usually presents as like you look harder, you look more dense. Your muscularity is more dense when you're lean by taking Proviron. And it also improves sexual function because DHT is obviously the main dihydrotestosterone is the main sex androgen hormone. So it improves sexual function. You just feel a little bit more, turned on and engaged, especially in a sexual situation. And I'm trying to think, there's so many, obviously you guys know the old school, like Winstrol. People take Anavar, which is oxandrolone. Now, so that's actually the safest anabolic drug. It's also an oral, but it's very, very, very low hepatotoxic. The problem, though, with all oral steroids, just so you guys know, is that they trash lipid values. So most oral steroids, I shouldn't say most, all of them, even in super low micro dosages, over time will fuck up HDL, which is high density lipoprotein, which is the good cholesterol that you really, really need. So again, if you're going to use oral steroids in combination with testosterone at times in your life, depending on your goals, don't stay on them for very long, and make sure that you're using supplements and medications, which we can talk about, that improve your my brain just melted, your cholesterol.
So test sip is safe. It's bioidentical.
Absolutely safe. Use it forever.
Interesting. Okay.
And by the way, just so you know, I know guys right now in their 80s who have been on testosterone for over 50 years, and they're fucking amazing.
Got it.
I know one guy who's 84 years old, and he's very private. And believe me, if I could bring this fucking guy on a podcast, the world would shift, and I would become famous overnight. But like, he doesn't want anybody to know. But like, he reaches out to me. This guy actually reached out to me like 4 years ago after he read my book and was like I'd like to meet. I live in Southern California. And he wouldn't tell me anything else. He said, you want to meet me, trust me. And so I met him. And you guys, this motherfucker is, I mean, I really can't even describe it. He's been on testosterone 50 years. He's 84 years old. He looks like he's 45. I mean,
it's a question. So here's my dad is 72 or 3. Okay. His body's breaking down. He's got to walk with a stick. His left knee's fucked up. We're going to go to this stem cell clinic in Toronto and probably get our knees shot up. Cause I mean, I've got the same thing. I mean, if I wait another 30, 40 years, I'll have the same issue.
Right.
Can my dad go on TRT at his age?
Absolutely. I've been begging my dad to go on this shit and he won't do it. Here's the problem that you have. That generation of men has been so fucking conditioned by the boob tube that this shit is wrong, illegal, immoral, unethical, whatever other bullshit insert, negative stereotype, that it's really hard. I mean, my dad knows I'm a brilliant dude and he loves me and he supports me and everything. I mean, he thinks I'm crazy. I mean, when I first wrote this book, he was like, why would you ruin your life over this? You're an idiot. This is wrong and blah, blah, blah. But now he's seen what's happened and he's seen, the way people are with me and obviously all the stuff that's happened. And so he supports me, which is cool because he never supported me before, but he won't go on it, dude. I mean, he literally, it doesn't matter. And he needs it so fucking bad. He's got replaced knees. He's an ex-pro baseball player.
Right.
And he literally will not even consider it. And I'm like, and he's still really got good energy. I mean, he by the way, he finally got his testosterone done, Richard. And you know what happened? And you guys will all laugh at this. This is exactly what happened. I said, Dad, send me the labs. Let me look at them. I want to see everything. He's like, oh no, the doctor said I was fine. That's what guys get. That's what happens. Doc, I want my testosterone. Get my testosterone. And then they go, and the doc, literally being fucking ignorant, can't even read the lab panels, can't get into an intelligent discussion, just says, oh, you're fine. He looks at the mean deviation. He's like, oh, the guy's at 300.
Well, all those tables are set by people that don't really live optimized hormone levels, right?
Of course. Bro, the average endocrinologist that prescribes testosterone doesn't even use testosterone.
Yeah, well, my guy does. I mean, he's a bit of a geeky little dude. I mean, he's on 70 milligrams of test-sip a week.
Then he's smart.
But he's fit. He's like 56 years old. Right. He doesn't come off as a guy that goes to the gym a lot, but you can tell he's healthy, right?
As long as you exercise. Remember, guys, and again, this is all laid out in the book. Testosterone does so many things molecularly. But the one thing that it does, and this is what's so critical, and this is where people are so stupid in society. Again, they're conditioned by the fucking masses, the fucking feminazis and the postmodern, whatever the fuck is running our shit now. Aliens, reptilian, shapeshifters, I don't fucking know. But ultimately, you have to have muscle as you age to live long and strong. Literally, muscle is what prevents disease. This is not bullshit. This is not me, some, wannabe bodybuilder, fitness type dude, bro dude saying, you got to have muscle. I mean, you have to have muscle to live longer because that they now know from an etiology disease state that muscle is the deterrent. And so that's why, like, my metabolic blowtorch diet, like, everything is designed around maintaining muscle as you age. Now, there's no reason that your dad at 73, my dad, absolutely testosterone can grow muscle at any fucking age, I mean, you add muscle into those guys. Your dad, I'm sure, does your dad exercise at all as he train?
He does, yeah.
Fuck yeah. Then you put muscle, you put testosterone on that guy, and your dad's going to have, dude, I got a guy right now, 62-year-old. He's actually a B-lister, consults with me privately. You guys all know who he is. And he's been on testosterone now for 6 months. And the motherfucker texts me 3 times a day. It says, I can't believe this. Why are you not famous? Yeah. Oh, we got to do this. We got to do this. And I'm just like, dude, but it really is the fucking holy grail molecule. It really is the elixir of the gods. Now, Richard, you're nowhere even near to the way you're going to feel. In like 3 months, you're going to be like, fuck.
I was just about to ask you, like, when is the peak, feeling of optimization kick in?
So the dopamine response, you're going to notice over the next 6 to 8 weeks, like, you're just going to wake up in the morning and you're going to be like, fuck, dude, I'm already a bad motherfucker, but I'm ready to dominate now. Like, it's subtle. The musculature, the neurologic effects, that takes a lot longer. That's normally between some guys, like a real hyper excreter. So a guy who just clears testosterone from the system really quick might feel it in like 90 days to 120 days. But the average dude on the street, it's 6 months.
Because I mean, like, I feel better. I mean, it's only been a week. Like, I've only had 3 injections. I don't feel like a new guy, but I feel like I'm living in a body now that's like 15 years younger.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, that's just the dopamine, dude. You haven't really felt any of the neurologic stuff yet. You definitely have not felt any of the calm.
Well, some of the brain fog is like lifted. Like, I started writing a book and I stopped writing it because I couldn't focus. The last 3 days I've gotten more done than I have, in the last 3 months. So I can focus better. You fuck better.
Oh yeah.
You've got a great appetite to eat.
Yep.
I mean, so far it's been great. Like I want to keep going to see what ends up happening.
No,
but
dude,
what I've heard is
now that you got access to me though, you'll be good. Cause like most guys, what happens is, and by the way, I just did a podcast this week with one of my guys I mentor. There's a woman, if you guys find this, there's a woman out there who's created this site. She's obviously a troll, but she's actually well-intentioned and well-meaning. And it's testosteroneaddiction.com. Go check it out.
Mm-hmm.
She's basically what's happening in America. Men go on testosterone by quacks. They get quacked. They end up worse than they were. So they complain. They go to their wives. The wives are dealing with it. They can't. I mean, I'm telling you guys, when you get quacked by a physician on testosterone, you are fucked.
What do you mean quacked? What do you mean by that?
So what I mean is they fuck you up so bad. They make you worse than when you came in, right? Mm-hmm. So remember, when you come in deficient, you're at your worst. You're at your all-time lowest. You can't focus. You cannot even function. You are so bad. And then when a doctor puts you on testosterone, doesn't know how to do it, doesn't know how to balance your estrogen, loads you up with all these other drugs in addition to the testosterone to make money on you, and then imbalances you, lowers your testosterone further, makes you feel miserable and you feel horrible. And then you quit because you're like, I can't keep doing this. I'm horrible. That's what leads to that website. That's what leads to these women and these wives on this, campaign of like saying that testosterone is addictive and it's, all these bad things. It's completely untrue. So the biggest issue still is just a lack of awareness and obviously a lack of physician adherence to, a model that works with testosterone. Now, clearly I'm kind of at the forefront and the true change maker along with the people in my crew on like getting this to the mainstream, and it will go mainstream. I mean, it's like I say, whatever, I'm on a podcast, eventually, you guys, it's so bad environmentally that eventually testosterone clinics, in my opinion, and I feel like this is shared with the highest level people, they will be like Starbucks. Okay. Because you guys, this is in the book, but I think you and I, Rick, talked about this, Richard. I know I shared this with the guys on the Family Alpha. 2040 is when men are wholly infertile on this planet. That is not an exaggeration. That is based on a 30-year study. You can Google this right now. Scientific Americans behind this. Of course, there's no awareness in the Western world right now because they want men fucking neutered. But by 2040,
well, that's the function of feminism. Like we talked about that on the phone when we were chatting, right? Like women want to control the entire fucking landscape. And it's like they almost want to control testosterone now. Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, women are more so Dr. Reese, when he talked about men being a mutation and talked about how women are maturing earlier. I mean, look, man, I got you and me are the same. I got a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old daughter. And my wife is an amazing woman. She's actually writing a book for women with like one of the leading women's physicians in the country, which will be out hopefully at the end of this year, because women need this shit just as much as we do. And they're getting fucked over just as bad. But I got to worry about my daughters fucking reaching puberty, bro, by the time they're 11 or 12 years old. I mean, that's where we're at right now. It's fucked. Mm. So, I mean, knowing all this shit, you just, again, you have to be proactive. You're a force of one in the world today. Dude, you're literally like one of the first guys, and I work with a lot of guys in Canada, and I have some of the A-list fitness dudes in Canada that I talk to. I mean, the doctor situation in Canada is fucking atrocious. So the fact that you were able to find one guy this quickly, and it seems like he's dialing you in really good. I mean, I can't see anything wrong with what he's doing. I mean, I think the DHEA shit he gave you was quackery, but I mean, he was trying to go down the natural means first, which is right. So I can't really go after him with that. But I mean, you're one of the lucky guys, dude. I mean, you should see some of the stories I get from some of these dudes in Canada. I mean, it's bad.
Okay, so I kind of want to wrap this up because we're going like hardcore, like we got to do this again. But one last question. So one thing that I've seen some conflicting information on is you can use testosterone replacement as birth control in men. And I've heard stories where guys have basically, before they order a microscope, they jizz on a fucking, piece of glass and they look at their swimmers and they're all there. And then they go on TRT for a bit and they do the same test and there's no swimmers. So what's your experience been with using testosterone as a form of birth control for men? Because I'm not cut. I don't really want to cut my nuts. Right.
No, don't. And I'm never cut either. So I had both of my daughters while I was on testosterone. But I was also using HCG and HMG, which again is very elucidated, clearly explained. If you want to have kids while you're on testosterone, anybody can do it, but you use those drugs in combination. Very, very easy to get and to use. hopefully you're again working with a doctor that knows how to do it. There's so many fertility specialists now because obviously the danger of sperm, you know, and the reduction of sperm, and men can't even be men. So that's not going to be a hard thing, even for you guys in Canada, or for guys of you that follow you in Canada or anywhere in the international community. But no, Jim, my business partner, was not on anything other than test, and he had his daughter, and Jim was almost this close to being like Ronnie Coleman, right? Like he competed at that level. He's a 6'3", 320-pound guy at his peak in condition. And now he walks around as like a 6'3", 260-pound guy, 7 or 8% a year. The guy's a freak. He's one of the smartest guys in the world. By the way, if any of you guys want to learn how to train, he's my business partner, but he has his system, which is, not going to lie, it's kind of the training system of like the top bodybuilders in the world. They don't all talk about it and everything because Jim has like always been kind of like an underground coach for these guys, but it's called advancedforgedtraining.com. This motherfucker knows more about weight training than any person on the planet. Obviously I'm a shill because I love him like a brother. He is a brother to me, but he's also my business partner. But that guy will teach aging people how to train better than anyone. His system is insane, and anybody can do it. It's not hard or complex. It's no bullshit. But you literally, oh man, you cannot, it's impossible to rely on testosterone as a form of birth control. It's stupid to think that. I mean, sure, it will definitely lessen your seminal volume, and it will definitely lessen the motility of the sperm, but it's not gonna, I mean, I would put it this way, bro, at 100 to 150 milligrams a week, I think the likelihood of you getting somebody pregnant is extremely low. If you're fucking a chick, I mean, my wife is my age, so I mean, she's not as fertile either, but if you're banging a chick who's like in her, fertile myrtle period of, let's say, like between 26 and 34 or 32, you got a 10% chance.
Yeah. So you're saying don't go busting nuts in chicks.
But I still think it's low. Right. Because my wife wanted to get pregnant with me when I was 40, and I told her straight up, I'm like, babe, I wasn't pulling out, but it's like, it ain't gonna happen, and it didn't happen. So. Got it.
All right. Yeah, that's been amazing. I mean, we had a really long session. I had you on live as well publicly, so I want to thank you for your time. It's been great. You said you got a PDF copy of your book. If you can email that to me, then I'll share it on the Facebook page for my page.
Yeah, and I'll send you the fasting book too, man. Okay. I'm gonna do a fasting today. We're gonna go really, really deep with the guys at the Family Alpha, but I'll be happy to come on and talk to you about that too, because like I know a lot about the hormonal processes of fasting. And the one other thing about fasting that we didn't talk about, which is so amazing, and I'm so into it because I'm really truly a guy. I don't want to sound too woo-woo, but I'm really trying to be like a spiritually enlightened person, right? Like I'm really truly walking that path. I have a whole chapter in the TRT Bible on spiritual fitness, is which I call it. I'm not a religious person, just spiritual. But fasting is a way to connect with spirit. And again, spirit, you can define spirit whatever you want. But man, I'm telling you, when you get into fasting, and again, not fasting like these fucking retards that do juice fast and their bodies cave in. I'm talking about just fasting one day and then eating like whatever the next day. But when you can go 24 hours to 30 hours fasting, your body shifts, man. Something happens. I mean, my whole life, everything that has happened to me in the last year, I attribute to just my fasting. Like connecting with people more, just being more open and being more aware and more accepting and more loving and all of these other things. But I believe it's all fasting because I haven't done anything else that I've always not done. But fasting is just insane to connect. Like I said, I mean, I just refer it to spirit. I mean, there's a chemical change. There's a biochemical change in the brain. You release more brain-derived neurotropic factor, which, Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss, all those guys talk about a lot. They have some of the specialists that come on how to increase BDNF. But the best way to increase BDNF is definitely through fasting.
Cool. Also, is that stuff bad for women? I've heard somewhere that women shouldn't be fasting.
No, women can fast. It's good though, because women cannot fast as long, and it's through evolutionary adaptation because they're nurturers and they're the caregivers. And so their insulin levels are more designed to feed more regularly. But I have women that consult with me that literally fast like 24 to 30 hours. If you can fast, guys, 3 days a week, and I should say 2. But if you can fast 3 days a week, you will drop your body fat below 10% and it will stay there permanently. And it doesn't matter. You can fucking eat cookies and ice cream on the days that you don't fast.
Cool. All right, Jay. Thank you very, very much for your time. I'll look for that email when you send the books. And yeah, let's do this again. This has been great.
Awesome. Yeah. And you guys watching, man, just email me, Jay at TRT Revolution. Just ask for whatever and I'll fire it to you right away.
All right. Thanks, brother. Peace.
All right,